All right, good morning. January 22nd. It's about 8:45 Pacific Standard Time. Let's get started with the euro. I actually just took a short about 20 minutes ago. I was trying to get in at 122.50. I went short at 122.49, as you can see here. My stop was at 122.72. And when I was basically looking at yesterday, basically I anticipated an opening gap due to the federal lockout and all the stuff that's going on in the news. So I expected a, a gap up, but I wasn't sure how far that gap would be. And in Sunday gaps, when the market opens from the beginning of the start of the the week, um, I was I was waiting to see if price would break 122.65. It did, but this is breaking it by 10 pips is letting me know something, but it's also telling me that prices is more than likely going to come back to the 121 80 level, 80 area, and at that point, if it breaks this blue line here, which is 121.55, then price would go down to lower levels, roughly between 121.15 and 120.85. In that case, it will complete most likely a corrective wave, either C, on a larger time frame, and then I expect price to go and reach a high more towards 125 area. Right now, as you can see, I got the resistance at the top at 125.15. That's where I have it, but that's going to be a while before it gets there. But that's just how I have it. That's the target I have once price goes. Let me delete that. Once price goes to Once price actually finds its support near the levels I just said. If we look at that on a 240, you can clearly see here that if this is the top, let's say this is the top of wave 3, so at 123.23, that was the top. You have a 3-wave move down here. So this can be considered a here, and then you clearly see another 3-wave move up for B. And then one or two things is going to happen. Either we're currently working on C, which will go below this low, and it will find support at about 121.20 or so in this particular level, or you'll see a triangle where this will be the low, but then wave C will stop at about 121, 122 even, and then it will come up, but it should not go above 122.96, and then you'll see the wave E come into the range of like 122.20, and it'll play out. But with the ECB, I believe this Thursday, 3 or 4 days from now, it's most likely going to consolidate, especially in the daily time frame, until that particular conference. And my expectations is for price to find a low at some point, maybe a spike down during the conference or shortly after, and then make its way up, especially if this lockout continues with in the U.S. government. What that'll most likely do is just make the euro strong. And if you look at the other dollar pairs right now, especially the pound, it has already found weakness the dollar has versus the pound. Dollars looks like it's going to be weak versus the Japanese yen as well, as long as the Aussie dollar and a couple other pairs. So that's just how I'm looking at it from here. We'll see how that goes. I'll move on to the this is Bitcoin. Now let me go to a smaller Bitcoin. Let's see here. I'll start with this one. It's fine. I'll start with Bitcoin Cash. So let me go down to a 15-minute chart and see what I come up with. No, that doesn't look good. So boom. Right now, this is the resistance level at 1880, or I'm sorry, 1880. is where price would need to come back to in order for a buy signal. Being that it already broke the 1670 support level, I expect prices to come more towards 1360 in this range, and it can continue, but it's definitely going to retest this particular low of last week at some point this week. And if it does continue lower, well, then you see my support levels are as follows: at 1150, at 1105, at 1050, and at 1000. And at that point, it should, if it does retest and then breaks this particular support level of 1360, where the current low is from last week, these new support levels will be the key. However, if it retests like I'm expecting, but then it starts to go up, it still needs to break 1880, this particular blue level here, or turquoise level here, in order to see higher prices. And at that point, we can expect prices to start making its way towards 3,000. It's a bit difficult to look at this on a larger time frame and to put Elliott into perspective right now. So I'll just play the harmonic and Fibonacci support and resistance levels until price says otherwise. It's consolidating, and on a hour chart, it's very difficult to. It's easy to create a wrong count, to label a wrong count in Elliott, and that's where a lot of Elliotticians go wrong. You go to a smaller time frame and you say, okay, this is an ABC, this is a WXY, this is XZ, or what have you, but that's kind of where you fail at. The smaller time frames, the smaller the time frame, the patterns appear, but they're false patterns. They're false patterns. So you always got to be careful with that. And this is where my Fibonacci and harmonic support and resistance levels come in at, just on smaller time frames to give me an indication. And then you look at larger time frames for your Elliott analysis. So I'll move on from Bitcoin Cash and I'll move over to no, that's boom. Okay, so this is Bitcoin. This is the hour chart. As you can see, price is still just at the support level of 10,550. If it's more than likely going to retest this low, and if it does retest the low of 9,100, then you can expect prices to continue going lower. If it breaks it, that's my indication. So right now, being that it's right at the support level, I don't. So far, it may hold. This right now is a hold to me. So unless price continues and it comes down to the 9,900 level, then this no longer held, in my opinion, and you'll see a price at least retest the low, if not lower. And just on my Fibonacci patterns, I got it coming all the way down to as low as 6,000. So as you can see, this says 5999.5, but it's 6,000. So it can come that low, and that's just the fear and the greed of cryptocurrencies right now. It's a relatively new market. You got a lot of buyers and sellers who are amateurs, and right now the fear has kicked in for sure, and people are panicking and selling. That doesn't mean anything, but the analysis part of it is pretty clear. So we've seen pretty much a 50% drop in Bitcoin, and it's just consolidating. It will eventually, turn around and make its way back up. But at the end of the day, I even said, even if you look at my the 240, the 4-hour chart, if this top is wave 3, right, and then this C holds, even if this C doesn't hold, this will just be wave 3 of C, and then you have 4 of C, and then 5 of C will come down to the 8,000 or 7,000 in that area. Once price finds its support and it's done with this correcting wave, it'll go above the 3, so it'll go above 20,000, but it's still going to eventually come crashing down. So it's definitely not right now. Bitcoin is not a buy and hold strategy. It's not unless you've got in, at 100, or somewhere around there. If you got in at 5,000 or 8,000 or somewhere around there, you're pretty panicking right now, because you saw your money go from, let's say, 5,000 to 20,000, and now all of a sudden it's back at 9,000. So if you haven't sold, then and you don't understand any form of technical analysis, you're pretty fearful right now when it comes to trading. So this is where you're going to start looking for YouTube videos and cryptocurrency analysis, and to try to figure out what these other people are saying, who you really don't know who, if they're any good or not. You don't know. You're just going to see a bunch of likes and views, and you're going to start subscribing to people, and then one thing is going to lead to another, and then you're going to start taking trades based off of someone else's opinion. In all reality, you have to educate yourself in this particular field, and it's going to take you a couple of years to get to a level to where you can actually see patterns in the market and make and make trades based off of great analysis, not someone else's analysis. As you can see here, I don't hardly use any indicators at all. I use support and resistance levels, a couple of indicators, and then I use Elliott, which is advanced technical analysis. That's pretty much all I use. I combine that with harmonics. I combine that with Fibonacci, and it's great for me. But it did take a couple years, about 4 years, for me to get to the level that I am now, and I'm not even that good. I still have a long ways to go. And the YouTube channel was to correct some of my mistakes, really. And I just figured, why not just throw it out there for everyone else to see it? If you want to trade, go ahead, but know what you're doing. Don't expect me to call a trade for you. And that's my analogy. I definitely do not want to continue talking and just rammering. It's Monday morning, it's raining outside, and I kind of need to get going. So I'm going to end it with the last one, which is the S&P 500. E-minis S&P, so let me do a 15-minute chart here. Right now, price is right at the resistance level of 128.21. It needs to break 128.21 to continue to higher levels. Once it breaks 121 or 128.21, you may see a small pullback, more roughly towards 128.15, maybe even 128.00, and then at that point you'll see the rise that can likely go to 128.30, 128.42, 128.45, 128.50. I got 128.57. So it can continue to go up, and getting in at 128, let's say 15 or 20 or anything, to see it go to 128.50 or 60, that's a pretty damn good trade. But right now, it's, as you can see, it's that 128.21 is holding. So what that means is that you may see another pullback before it tests it. The retest is likely to come either to 128.15, and if not, it can come down to 128.00. So, or 2800. I keep saying 128, but I'm used to the currency. Sorry about that. So 2800. Let me correct myself. However, if you see this current bar start to break out, well, then you know that everything is on the up and up. The trend is up in the weekly, the monthly, and the daily. So all time frames, the trend and the S&P is up. So the last thing you would want to do is take it short in this market. You definitely want to wait for a pullback and then look for a long in this market. I think that's all I got for today. That's the euro that I'm messing with right now on a monthly. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that's Bitcoin Cash. So yeah, I've done everything that I've for today at least. And as you can see, this is, I think I was up 8 pips when I first looked at it. Now I'm up 18 pips. It doesn't mean anything. It can definitely come back to this area, and I can be at break even. But I'm expecting price to come to around here. If it comes to 121.80 or somewhere close, I'm actually going to get out. And I'm looking for a buy in this particular area. So I'm most likely to have another video tomorrow, if not later tonight. I hope this helped. Happy trading.